Hey, Dirt Bike TV here. Today we are putting in new wheel bearings in we're going to call it my desert wheel. We're turning this wheel, KTM, my 350, into a desert wheel. Last time we changed the wheel, shook it back and forth a little bit, felt that the bearings were not good at all, totally blown out. So we have the ProX bearings that today we're going to change here with Dylan here at MotoXperts. So we're going to change these bearings, knock them out, put new ones in. We'll show you the steps along the way. Dylan's got the claw there.
Yep. Then reach over here, make sure we get the
right size.
Yep.
Boom.
It's almost like I've done this before.
Almost. What is that piece called?
This piece?
Yeah.
So it's a blind bearing puller kit. Many companies make them. They're all pretty similar. And they all kind of do the same thing.
Yeah.
We use them for engines all the time, and I use them for wheel bearings.
Sweet.
Thread the slide hammer in.
Beautiful. Look at that.
So sometimes it will slip out like that. I don't tend to do them super tight. I'd rather have it slip out than do damage to the wheel.
Exactly.
And this is kind of a tricky one because there's two bearings on this sprocket side.
Yeah, that's fun, isn't it?
Yeah, so it can make it a little bit trickier.
See that? Coming right out.
Boop. There's one. Looks like these got some rust, water got in there and
yeah.
A little bit rusty.
See, when you're washing your bike, it's key to remember that blowing out even your wheels. A lot of dudes think that they only need to blow off electricals or like bearings in the front stem area. If there's bearings anywhere on your bike, water will get in there. And so it's really important to remember that no bearing is safe on your bike if you're going through water crossings or washing your bike. That's why you want to wash your bike the right way. We have videos on our YouTube channel about how to wash your bike the right way to make sure you're not, overwashing, because there is such a thing as overwashing your bike. So most of the time, we use the punch special with a big hammer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. This is much nicer to the bearings and wheel.
Oh yeah. I've done that before in the past, before I started working at the shop, and it works. Definitely works.
It works. So as you can see right here, that sprocket side has two bearings, and so there's bearing one that was on the outside. This is one that was on the inside. You can see it's super rusty, but you can see how this piece, it expands via this tightening right here, and so it drops in, expands, and gets tight along the inside of the bearing, and then he uses that slam hammer to bring it out. So Dylan's going to grab snap ring pliers because we have a little circ clip right here. And as you can see, that is pretty rusty in there. Naughty me. Alright, so bearings out, sleeve out, all that. Cleaned it off. Opened up our ProX bearings. Part number right there. And now we're going to put these bad boys back in.
Yep. First of all, I might go...
Look at that, look at that.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool, isn't it?
But I'm going to take this over to the vapor hone and give it a good clean.
Yep.
Make sure it's nice and clean before we go back in.
Sweet.
Along with the circ clip.
Yep.
So, okay.
Got the Motion Pro Baron bangers.
This has definitely been used once or twice.
Right? That's a, every shop should look like that.
Yep.
Going on nice and straight. Doing little taps. Look at that. You don't want to go in crooked at all.
No.
Bad news if you do that.
Hear the audible cue when it bottomed.
Hear it change its tune.
Yep.
Feel the grease in there.
Then I'll reapply some.
A little bit more because it pushed it all down.
Yes, sir.
This side we put 2 on. And you can put these in the freezer if you want to, or if you have the time. But honestly, you know, it's not totally necessary.
As long as you clean your hub up enough, and then obviously use some grease, it goes in relatively easy.
Mm-hmm.
Shouldn't have an issue unless you go in kind of cockeyed. Then you run into problems.
Oh, he's banging that second one in. Look at the sleeve here. We saw what it was before, right? And if you don't have high dollar vapor hone, you can do this with some Scotch-Brite pads and some contact cleaner and some elbow grease and make it look nice. And you really want to get a lot of the surface rust off. Right here we got the seal on the outside.
The seal, this is where I kind of have a choice of grease. I don't know which one to use.
It's whatever you want to use, whatever.
Since it's your off-road bike, I'll
off-road bike. Waterproof grease here?
Waterproof grease.
Okay.
Kind of coat the inside of this. That way if any dirt was to get in, this grease will trap it and not get caught into the bearings.
Yep. Pushing that in almost basically all the way, right?
Yeah, I tend to keep it flush with the outside of the hub. And then that way it's not rubbing up on the bearing and getting hot.
Yeah.
And then you'll tend to run into problems with like a seal melting.
Yeah, I see.
See, these ones are properly installed. But flip it over.
Flip it over.
Rinse and repeat. Don't forget your sleeve.
Yeah.
Down walked a little bit to the other side. Straighten it up real quick.
There you go. Get in there. There we go. Look at that. Switches to the narrower one from Motion Pro. So you have that big one that kind of helps it get flush the right way, right? Mm-hmm. And then switch it in to get it down. And then
sometimes this sleeve will kind of fight you.
Yeah.
I actually have I use a brass drift to kind of move it to where I need to. That way it doesn't mar up anything or do any damage to it.
There you go. Boom. And you want to make sure that thing can spin in there.
Yep.
If your clip doesn't spin while it's sitting, it's not in all the way or cockeyed.
Another thing I would like to do is I can just take something and kind of push down on it. I heard it click, so I know it's in there. But if you don't hear the click, it's kind of obvious.
Yep.
You can just push down on it and it'll most likely pop right in. Okay.
Look at that. Boom.
Freshened up. I like to put some grease on the inside of this, just to make the axle and the spacers slide in easier. I know we don't have spacers. We don't
have spacers right now, but when I put the wheel on, look at that.
Be able to slide those spacers right in.
Okay, we're done. New bearings in, cleaned up. Check out our old ones. Pretty beat up. This had over 100 hours on the wheel. Doing your wheel bearings can be somewhat intimidating to some dudes, but you can obviously go to a shop like MotoXperts if you're here in Utah. Dylan does it, cranks it out 15 minutes. It's easy, and if you want, you can try it on your own. If you're not near a shop, you can go ahead and go for it. Watch this video, watch other videos that are out there. Make sure you take your time, and I always say check twice on the fish and with like Rocky Mountain of how the stack goes, especially with this. We've had dudes put only one wheel bearing in on the sprocket side, and that's not going to work out. So you have to put in 2 wheel bearings on the sprocket side for these KTM wheels. Watch that. Make sure you're doing things correctly. Take your time. We'll see you on the track or trail soon.
OnX Off-Road. Know where to go with the #1 GPS app. Access 500,000 miles of trails and roads, open dates and public lands. The Elite version even shows landowners and property boundaries. Download the onX Off-Road app. To save 20%, use the discount code DBTV1.